So today, the nations of Britain, France, and the United States of America have marshaled their righteous power against barbarism and brutality. Tonight I ask all Americans to say a prayer for our noble warriors and our allies as they carry out their missions.
Welcome back to the Jimmy Mathis Show with you till 8 o'clock. Right now we are joined by Congressman Andy Harris from Maryland's 1st Congressional District. Good evening, Congressman. How you doing? We had booked you in a couple days ago, so I'll get to the reason why I originally wanted to talk to you in a few minutes, but obviously the news of the day was the missile attacks into Syria. The president addressing the nation at 9 p.m. last night. The attacks immediately followed. There was a follow-up briefing from Mathis over at the Pentagon at 10, and this morning Donald Trump tweeting mission accomplished. Your thoughts on the president's decision to the actions that he took in Syria, first of all?
Well, thank goodness we now have a president who says that there are red lines, and when you cross them, there's actually something happens when you cross a red line, and clearly Syria did again, despite the fact that the president launched missiles last time, last year, and I'm convinced that Syria does it a third time, he'll do it again, as he should. And again, this is multinational action, right thing to do, and I agree 100%.
I thought the way the president laid it out when he addressed the nation at 9 o'clock was really brilliant. It was quick. It was a 6-7 minute address. Nobody knew when the attacks were going to happen. As it turned out, it was immediately following that address. But I thought it was very calm, cool, collected. I thought he made the case on why we needed to do it. And it's one of the questions / criticisms, I guess, that Donald Trump has had over the last year or so, which is this the guy that you want his finger on the button? And I thought it was a move that had to be made, and I was, to the point that you just made, I was glad to see that we have a president that understands what red lines are right now and enforces them.
That's right, absolutely, and it was a move that had to be made. It was the right move. It was measured. It was measured. It was an appropriate move, and it wasn't knee-jerk. I mean, that when they got the evidence, the president proved that he will collect the evidence, he will look at it, he'll get the advice, and then he'll take action. That's the big difference between President Trump and President Obama. Had this happened under President Obama, I'm pretty certain that really nothing would have happened in Syria. And Syria is obviously allied with Russia. Russia likes to test the system every once in a while. They tested the Obama system. They figured out that President Obama wasn't going to do anything ever. And that's why they invaded Crimea, and that's why they invaded eastern Ukraine on President Obama's watch, because they knew that nothing was going to happen. I think now they've seen twice that when you cross the red line for this president, and it's totally appropriate, this is an international chemical warfare treaty. It bans chemical warfare. Russia is a signatory. Shame on Russia for not having made certain that the chemical weapons were all destroyed, and for looking the other way when they were used by Assad.
Congressman, the reason I wanted to originally bring you on, again, this was prior to what happened in Syria. I wanted to talk about the balanced budget amendment. This was rejected on April 12th, I believe. You've been one of the largest voices out there on, this nation needs to get its finances in order. Just your thoughts on the balanced budget amendment and it being rejected.
Well, look, we need a balanced budget amendment. That was probably not the perfect balanced budget amendment because it's too easy to set too low a bar for Congress to just say, well, we're going to disregard the amendment. It could have been stronger, but it's better than what we have now, which is runaway spending with no control in Washington. The swamp spends money with both hands, and they're not spending their money. They're not even spending our money. They're spending our children and grandchildren's money, and it's immoral.
It's so important, Congressman. The number that we focus on all the time when we're talking about the debt is the $20 trillion. The number I focus on is unfunded liabilities. Allocations that we have promised that have become the third rail of politics. That number right now is well over $230 trillion. It increased more than $60 trillion under the Obama administration. It continues to ramp up. When you consider that the GDP of this country is only $20 trillion, these are numbers that we've hit the point of no return on this. This country needs to get its finances in order, and it needs to do it quickly. I agree with the spirit of the balanced budget amendment. I think it's much deeper than that. It's definitely a starting point. But, I always make the comparison, and correct me on this, but, basically at the state level, we have a balanced budget amendment. Come signing die, the books have to be balanced, yet, spending continues to go up. So the balanced budget amendment doesn't necessarily translate into fiscal responsibility, but I do believe it's a starting point.
Well, that's right, and the problem is, there's two ways to balance the budget. You can increase taxes, you can cut spending, and it would be tempting to just increase taxes if you had to balance the budget. That's what the General Assembly likes to do all the time. That's what Governor O'Malley likes to do, and that's why Governor Hogan is now governor. But the fact of the matter is, we need fiscal restraint in Washington. We have done. The omnibus bill was a glaring example of it. That's why I not only voted against the omnibus bill, but I voted against the rules to even bring the bill to the floor. It was just so egregious. It again increased spending by $300 billion, bringing us much closer to $1 trillion deficits again. And shame on us. Not on my watch am I going to vote to increase spending to get to $1 trillion deficit again.
Talking to Congressman Andy Harris from Maryland's 1st Congressional District. Congressman also wanted to get your thoughts on Speaker Ryan earlier in the week, saying that he would not seek re-election.
Yeah, this is no surprise. We've kind of we thought this was going to happen half a year ago. We thought it was going to happen not half a year ago. We suspected that if we passed the tax reform bill, and it was a major tax reform bill, and this one was again lowering our the taxes on our job creators, making us globally competitive again. We suspected that Speaker Ryan might step down as Speaker at that time because he will have accomplished what he came to Congress for 20 years ago. So this was not a surprise. I know Paul Ryan very well. He is a family man. I know he misses his family. He has 3 teenagers now at home. And, as I tell people, I've never met someone who ever told me they spent too much time with their children growing up. So I'm not surprised that after, 2.5 very strenuous years, Mr. Ryan was the best fundraiser we've ever had. I mean, he raised more than Nancy Pelosi raises. And that's saying a lot because she's actually a pretty good fundraiser. So, I'm not surprised. He achieved tax reform. He wants to go home and spend time with his family. I'm not surprised that, he could have won re-election easily in his district. But I'm not surprised that he's, turning a page to a new chapter in his life.
I'm not either. And Speaker Ryan was very upfront 3 years ago, before Donald Trump was president, on his reluctance to even take that job. And he made it very clear when he did take it that he was going to be home on the weekends. And, this isn't an excuse a political excuse that he's using right now. He was very upfront on his concerns about being Speaker and the amount of time that has to be allocated to do that job.
That's absolutely right. So I wasn't surprised. And the people, the liberals want to say, oh, well, that's another sign, the Republicans are going to lose in November. It has nothing to do with that. It really has nothing to do with that. It's a personal decision by the Speaker that I could have seen coming, even if we were guaranteed the majority after this election. I think that Paul Ryan thought this was time to pass the baton.
Well, I agree to you. So the $60,000 question is who he passes the baton to. From the Hill yesterday, the House Freedom Caucus, which obviously you're very familiar with, flexes muscle in Speaker's race. There's some obvious names that are being thrown out there, but is this an opportunity for the Freedom Caucus?
Well, I think you tell me if we're in the majority or we're in the minority, and I'll tell you whether it's an opportunity. Obviously, if we're in the majority, the next speaker needs the Freedom Caucus votes to be the speaker. Without them, he or she can't be the speaker. So the Freedom Caucus will have tremendous leverage. If you're in the minority, then all you do is you elect a minority leader, and you don't need the Freedom Caucus votes to do that.
Right.
It'll depend on the outcomes of the November election. I think the Republicans are going to retain the House. I think our margin will not be as large as it is now. It'll probably be, you can probably count the margin on one hand after this election either way. But I think the Republicans are going to win, and I think the leverage of the Freedom Caucus becomes even greater than, as the margin becomes narrower.
Right, and look, if the Republicans hold on to the House, that's a major accomplishment. You just forget what's going on right now in Washington. You just look at the normal ebb and flow of midterm elections. Just going back over the last 30 years, normally the party in power, there's a pendulum back and forth when it comes to who controls the House and the Senate. So for the Democrats to take control of one of those chambers isn't necessarily reflective of Donald Trump. I mean, that's somewhat, the norm.
That's right. I think that's correct. I mean, again, the liberals will make it reflective of Donald Trump, but then again, they never admitted that the midterm losses under President Obama were the problem with President Obama.
Right.
But it's normal. I mean, midterm losses are normal, especially in the president's first term. The average number is 23. The Democrats need 23 in order to take back the House. So again, we're going to work hard. We're raising the money we need to raise. We have good candidates throughout the country, and I think in the end, Americans are going to ask themselves, do they really want Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House again? And I think the resounding answer will be no.
Even the Democrats are saying that.
But yeah, well, but I tell people, Nancy Pelosi will be Speaker. If the Democrats win the majority in the House, she will be Speaker. There's no question about it. She'll be challenged, but it'll be a weak challenge, and she will be I will say, an overwhelming choice for the Democrat caucus because she fits the caucus. I mean, it is a left wing. Dan Lipinski from Illinois, a real moderate. They were willing to throw him under the bus. Fortunately, he won his primary, but the Democrats are willing to throw all the moderates under the bus, and it is a very left-wing caucus. So Nancy Pelosi will be the Speaker if the Democrats take back the House.
And Congressman, people can say what they will about Nancy Pelosi, but she's also one of the best in the business when it comes to fundraising.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. She comes first of all. She comes from California, so she has the advantage of coming from the San Francisco area. But over the years, she's developed all the fundraising connections. She has raised money for individuals, and that's why, in the end, she's going to be the next Speaker if the Democrats take the House, because there will be many debts being repaid for her going out and shaking the money trees for members of the House.
Congressman Andy Harris, always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Jack, can you imagine if Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House again?
I try to suppress those memories, Jimmy. It's kind of a trauma that I don't like to go back to. But on the other hand, just think of the entertainment value of it, of her up there talking about President Donald Bush today, and other statements that she's probably bound to make.
You know what's funny about
same thing. I mean, she's just like, it's actually, I think it's pretty sad and pathetic that her family allows her to continue to be on the world stage the way that she is.
No, it's like I was saying to the Congressman, she's one of the best that there is when it comes to fundraising. And money is everything in politics.
Yeah.
She's also one of those politicians that, I've dealt with over the years. And she's a lot better one-on-one than she is over the radio and television. She's actually a very pleasant person. And you know who else is? You'd be surprised. People are losing their minds right now. But Elizabeth Warren.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the red light.
It's her Native American blood.
It's Warren. Right.
You guys have shared the peace pipe.
Yes. Then the red light comes on, But it's the question I was asking the Congressman. I think that this is a really unique opportunity for the Freedom Caucus, for them to start to make all the pitches that, we talk about here week in, week out. That, the original reason that I wanted the Congressman to come on was to talk about the Balanced Budget Act. It's an opportunity when you get away from the flash and the follow the shiny thing that the media loves with the Donald Trump phenomenon. And I understand how addictive and fun that can be. I get it. I do. But I think it's an opportunity right now for the party to kind of redefine itself. And think for a second, with everything going on, everything that we've experienced over the last year and a half, if the Republicans are able to hold on to the House and the Senate, what is the message in that sense?
If the Republicans are able to hold on to the House and Senate, there's one path for them to do that. And that's if they all get on the same page with the president, it doesn't have to be all of his agenda, but there has to be an agenda, and start delivering on that and actually giving Republican voters and even independents reason to get off their butts and come out and actually vote in November. That's the only way it's going to happen.
And that issue, as a previous caller Chris said, is the economy.
Sure.
Get behind a strong economic agenda a rising tide lifts all boats. That's the thing that James Carville said it best. It's the
economy's stupid.
Right.
And what's Donald Trump doing right now? He's trying to rein in an EPA that's run amok, that makes it very difficult to do business. When's the last time we talked about ISIS? When's the last time we talked about Russia reconstructing the former Soviet Union? When's the last time we talked about, the Arab Spring in Egypt, or all the foreign policy disasters that Barack Obama was juggling simultaneously? And now you're able to get a tax bill through. You got 1 minute, gentlemen, but Jack, you brought up, get behind the president's agenda. The next thing is immigration, border security, however you want to, define that. The American people have been seeking that going back to 1984.
You support that. You say you're going to support that. You show the people you have good faith. They're going to come out and vote. That was the issue that won Trump the primary. That's the issue that won him the presidency.
Absolutely. And the reason why immigration is so difficult is because the American people have no faith in their government.
Right.
And take the politics out for a second. Just looking at this negotiating 101, if you don't believe that the person you're sitting across the table, this would be the American people, and the other side of the table are the politicians, if you don't believe that that individual is operating in good faith, there's nothing to talk about. Jack Wasovic, Tyrone Keys, appreciate it very much. Roger Stone, thank you. Congressman Andy Harris, we'll see everybody next week, same time, same place. Go O's, rough day today. Go O's. Have a great weekend. Bye.